Fist flying, no bounds. Podcast kings, we pound for pound. UFC thrills, stills nights get loud. Big EQP, that's how we get down.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GRP. Back at it on a Thursday. I missed the earlier one this week, but that's mainly because there was nothing going on and it was a long weekend. I thought about doing a couple different things, but I let it all fall to the wayside because it's like, it's okay. I just picked I had bad timing. I gotta think things through a little better next time. And I will, but I had this idea to do the whole 2 times a week thing, and I put it into play right away because usually I overthink things, and this time it was poor handling on my part, but I don't think it matters. From this point forward, you know, I'm gonna do my thing. No matter what, you can always count on a Thursday. So whether it's pre-recorded or live, I'm here and I'm doing the damn thing. So when it comes down to it, it's not a big deal, and it's gonna work itself out. What I did do was I did do a second fighter interview, and that was fun. It was a good one with Rob Perez, the Wolf, fighting for Dirty Boxing, and that is right now. You can go catch that on the Combat Sports Today YouTube channel. Go check it out there if you want to see what that was all about. The event is happening June 14th that he's fighting on. So I'm going to release it again when on my channel when it's closer to the fight. Just to let it breathe a little bit on CST. They got it for me and stuff like that, obviously. So I'm just trying something different, seeing how it all works out. So yeah, be on the lookout for that when it comes out. So if you haven't seen it already, you can check it out then. But if you want to go watch it right now, go to Combat Sports Today, give them a subscribe and like the video and check out some of their other stuff. You can see my other fighter interview over there as well, and a bunch of other fighter interviews from various different organizations. It's a good channel, and they cover a lot of stuff. So, and those are my guys, man. I'm happy to be a part of them and working with them, collabing and doing interviews and stuff. So it's fun. So go check it out. But yeah, so I did that on Sunday. It got released on Monday, and it's up there for you to check out if you want to see what's up. And then you can always go back to last week's episode. If I remember, I'll put a card here so it takes you straight back there. But yeah, you can go to last week's episode. I went into the Dirty Boxing a little bit more and just talked about the event coming up June 14th. We'll cover it again when it gets there. Other than that, yeah, I had an interesting night on call for work. I got called out, and yeah, it was like 10:30. I was out till like 1:30. By the time I got home, got settled into bed and tried to fall asleep and couldn't at first. So it was like 2 o'clock probably when I finally fell asleep. And yeah, so I had like 3 hours of sleep total. That was fun. And you know, you get older, that kind of shit catches up with you quickly. It's been a long time since I've not had a lot of sleep like that on a basis like where it was literally a few hours only. So yeah, that one hurt. Today I was hurting, and I mean the first half of my day I was fine. I got through it. Then the tiredness kicked in. Wound up getting a headache, all that shit. So I came home and slept it off a little bit, and I feel better. I do feel better. I still feel tired. I'm sure once this is over, I'm going to go sit on the couch and relax, and I'll probably wind up falling asleep quickly because that's when everything catches up. So we'll see what happens, but I feel better now, thankfully. And yeah, let's hope for no more of that for the rest of the week while I'm on call. That would be great. Otherwise, that's it. Yeah, just an interesting night, interesting day. And now we're here getting ready to talk about some MMA news, basically a little bit of boxing mixed in, but mostly everything's about MMA, UFC stuff. We had a off week last week, so UFC didn't have any events. There wasn't really any events going on like at all last week for the most part. You know, some of the smaller events and stuff like that. So if you follow those, I'm sure you watch those, but yeah, nothing else really going on last weekend with Memorial Day and all that. So hopefully everyone had a good one and had a safe one and had a good long weekend. Most people got Monday off. So it's been a short week, but it still felt long. But that's how it goes, right? So with the UFC off last week, there wasn't a whole lot going on. Not a lot going on in the news either. This week, a few things have popped up here and there, so we'll cover those. And then, like I said, we got a boxing match coming up this weekend. Caleb Plant is fighting in the main event versus Armondo Resendiz. And then Jarmel Charlo is the co-main fighting Thomas LaManna. So we'll hit that up and touch on that one for a second. Once we get started here, my phone's going off. Let me. Oh, okay, we're good. That sounded like something else. But yeah, and then we have UFC Vegas 107 happening at the Apex, headlined by women. But I mean, it's not a bad matchup. Aaron Blanchfield versus Macy Barber. Macy Barber was out with technically injury, but more like illness. I'll touch on that a little bit when we get there, but yeah, she's been out for a little bit. So she's making her comeback, and she's on a pretty big win streak, even though she was out for a bit. And Aaron Blanchfield is, you know, she's a beast, and she suffered her first loss not a couple fights ago, but came back and beat Rose Namajunas, former champ. So they're looking to have a great main event for this fight night. So that should be a good one, especially since we had nothing last week. Something's better than nothing. Some people might disagree, and I understand that there's a lot of that going on right now with MMA and the UFC talking, you know, shit about all of the matchups and stuff, which, don't get me wrong, I fully understand that. I do the same thing and talk about the quality of fights and stuff, but man, I don't know how I wound up running into a couple of posts that were like scathing. Like, people were fucking these people that posted these things were just going off about how basically you're a piece of shit if you think that any of the matchups these days are any good. And I'm like, I get it, man. I'm from the old school. Like, all these posters back here, this is when shit was good. But you know, it doesn't. A good thing is never lasts forever, especially with stuff like this. And yeah, it's gone downhill a little bit. And I've touched on this before a couple episodes ago. I talked about the state of MMA and how things are and where we're at with everything. And I understand the frustration completely, but. And here we go. Phil from CST likes to he gets bothered when people talk about blind loyalty, because that's what people have when it comes to the UFC, and I totally understand. But in the end, we still have events going on, and we still get pretty decent fights here and there. The whole card, having a whole card full of really great fights, is very rare these days, as opposed to back in the day when it was like every like second or third card in a row was great all the way through. If you look at some of the prelim cards from back in the day, you're like, holy shit, how is this a prelim? You know, when we talk about like UFC 300 and how, you know, we started off those prelims with two former champions, Davison Figueiredo and Cody Garbrandt, starting off that card as the first fight of the night on the goddamn prelims. Now, that's unheard of to have something like that these days, but it happened for 300. Now, I'm not saying whatsoever that the 300 card was fantastic, but it was pretty damn good compared to a lot of the things that we've been seeing lately. And, you know, that's kind of how it used to go back in the day, where you would see a lot of these big name fighters. Maybe they weren't so big name back then, and maybe that's why. Because, you know, recency bias, you know, you think about the fighter that they are today as opposed to what they were back in those days when they were in the prelims, and we start thinking about how, you know, how things were so much better and all that, and it's like, well, these were up and coming fighters back then. Just because they have a name now doesn't mean that it was the best back then, but you think about the actual event and how it went. Yeah, it was better, 100%. So I guess I might have contradicted myself and confused you a little bit there. But what I'm saying is, back in the day, it was better. uh, it's just comparing the two is different. It's just different these days. I don't know. It is what it is. And so many people are complaining, and it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna enjoy what's here and find the best out of what's happening this weekend. And we have a card this weekend, and there's some pretty decent fights on it. So, and I'll enjoy those fights because that's what I like watching. And in the meantime, I'm trying to, you know, get myself into other things and find time to really dig into some of these other events and other combat sports that are out there. But it's tough, you know. Only so much brain power. I don't have that many terabytes in my brain to hold the memories. It's the only way I can describe it because, yeah, my hard drive is running low. So I need to find ways to remember all this shit, and I have trouble with that already. So I'm trying to make it better, but it's a lot to remember. So you overload yourself with some of these things, and you know, the internet only helps so much if you know. If you have to if you have to use it to remember all of it, it's tough because then you got to sort through all of it. But it is what it is. We fight through and we make it happen. I don't know how else to explain that. It's just it's a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot to remember. There's so many damn fighters and so many fights, and maybe that's the problem these days, is oversaturation. You know, it's nice to have fights every weekend, but you know, the span of attention that you get from these fights and the lead up to them, and then by the next day or 2 days later, it's all over with. You forget about all of it and you're moving on to the next thing because you have the next event coming up, which is great and keeps you busy. Especially for me, it keeps me having content. But wow, there's a lot to remember. So, and then you have to dig deep to remember these things when you're trying to remember these things that you want to bring up, and then you're like, oof, it's tough. I don't know why. I don't even know why I try. But yeah, it's just something that it is what it is. And I had to get that off my head because I struggle with that. So anyway, before I move on and forget, as I'm talking about forgetting things, I will give a shout out to my sponsor, Noctane smelling salts, something that helps me a bit because it wakes me up. And when I wake up, I'm a little more sharp. So I definitely need this today. I didn't have it earlier. I screwed up and I didn't put it in my bag. So, you know, I'm lethargic and half asleep for part of the day. And I could have used these because this shit wakes you up. This is the most potent bottle with the red cap. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Don't get this one if you're starting out, unless you're a savage and want to go crazy. But be aware, it's strong, and you'll find out in a second when I take a big whiff of this and my eyes start watering. But there's least potent ones that you can try out. So go to the website, check it out. It'll tell you all about it. Thank you, Noctane, for the sponsorship. Let's hit this up real quick. Ooh, I was scared on that one, and then it just hit me. Woo! There we go. Oh, man. Eyes watering right away. That means I got a good one. But yeah, you'll always see us hitting these during the watch parties, which, by the way, we got one coming up next weekend because we have a pay-per-view. So you'll always see us hitting the smelling salts. And yeah, it's my sponsor, so I'm always going to take a quick whiff before I get started here. Scan that QR code, or there's a link in the description down below, and you can go check out their website and purchase a bottle. Start off with the white if you want to take it easy and just see what it's about, or go with the black if you're a little more brave and you want to jump in a bit. Maybe wait on the red, but unless you want to, it's up to you. I'm just telling you, it's strong. My eyes are still watering. So thank you, Noctane, for the sponsorship. I know I do this every show, but you know, they do sponsor me, and I always got to give them a shout out and remind everybody because it's a product I use all the time and I like it too. So it's just like me wearing my Braves hat, and I'm a Braves fan. So I have all these hats. I wear them all the time because I'm a fan, and I'm a fan of Noctane. So go check it out. Thank you, Noctane. All right, let's take a big sip here, and then we'll get started. All right, here we go. We'll start off with unfortunate news, and that is BJ Penn was arrested earlier this week. If you don't know the story, quick recap. He posted some stuff in the recent past. He's always kind of been one of those guys that maybe touches on a few things that seem a little weird here and there, but he's gone all in. And I think a lot of people are saying CTE. A lot of people are just claiming that he's basically off his rocker and brain damage. But we don't know. We don't know for sure. But something's going on with BJ, and that's, because like I was saying, he posted a while back around Mother's Day, I think. He posted about the fact that he believes that the Hawaiian government is sabotaging his family and trying to steal his family's fortunes, basically their land, their possessions, their money. He says that they basically kidnapped and got rid of his mom and his brother and his cousin or something like that, and replaced them with clones or imposters that are wearing disguises to look like his family members. So as you can tell already, this is sounding kind of weird, and that's the rant he went on. He poses a lot of what he thinks is evidence, and I can understand it. You can see the difference in the stuff that he's talking about, but the problem is it sounds very unhinged, and like he's had issues in the past with alcohol and drugs, and on top of all that, we know the wars he's been in and the brain trauma he's had in his past with all of his fight career. So and the knockouts that happened throughout the last couple years of his career. So that's the scary part. And now he's been arrested, and they showed a video of him being arrested in his home, in his bedroom. He's laying on his bed, and he's got cops surrounding his bed. Now, he's in Hawaii. He's well respected there. He was running for office for a while, and trying to become, I guess, the governor, I think, or something like that. So he was truly pushing for this, but a lot of these conspiracy things and unraveling of ideas that he's put out there are part of the reason why I'm sure he, that wasn't a thing for him, regardless of his popularity and respect that they have for him in his home state of Hawaii. But the thing is all of this stuff that he's claiming all came out after he did this bid for, a government office. So he believes that the government is sabotaging him and out to get him and everything he possesses, and that they've already taken his family from him. So I guess he has a cousin who is an FBI agent, and he says that she's doing everything possible to get him arrested and get him put away for a long time so that she could swoop in and take over the family like riches, I guess. So that's what he's afraid of. So basically, he was arrested for, according to the arrest records, he was officially charged with abuse of a family or household member, offensive physical contact. So basically, they're saying he attacked somebody in his household, which I believe they said was his mom. And his mom is saying that that he's getting violent, and physical and mental abuse is running rampant in that household. So that's the sad part. And because nobody really knows what's going on with him. And so he posted bail. It was only a $2,000 bail. His friend is videoing the cops. The cops are asking why he's videoing, and he says, well, because this is weird, because you won't tell him why you're arresting him. They're telling him to get up off the bed, and he's asking why, saying he didn't do anything, and he's just laying on the bed. Yes, he's being resistant, but he's not being violent. He's not being loud. He's not screaming and yelling. He's just asking questions, and he's talking. And the cops are just like, listen, we have to take you in. There's a report made. we were called, we have to take you in. So finally they get him and obviously arrest him as they walk him down his stairs here in this picture. You know, and he had a court appearance apparently 2 days ago. I don't know what happened because I didn't see. I assume it's just normal proceedings to see, you know, next court date and you know how all that goes. But he did get out on bail, and then he posted more things talking about all this stuff that I mentioned before, his cousin being the FBI agent wanting to get rid of him because he's the only one, according to him, he's the only one standing between him, his family, riches, and the government taking everything. So I don't know. This is tough, especially if he's hurting people in his house now, including his mom. That's bad. But if he truly believes that she is somebody other than his actual biological mother, that it's somebody, you know, posing as her instead of actually being her, you know, when you're in a bad mental state, that's the kind of stuff that messes with you. So I'm hoping for the best for BJ. The only reason why I even cover it is because it's sad, and it's a warning to, you know, what some of these fighters go through in their careers, what they put their body and their brains on the line for. You know, he's a legend, he's a Hall of Famer, and unfortunately he's going down a bad path right now. And I don't want to say that it'd be better to know that he's just having problems with drugs and alcohol that are causing this in him, because that's not good either. But CTE's kind of worse because there's no cure for that. And I just wish that he could get some help and really work through these problems, because BJ's always been one of my favorite fighters. He's in a poster back there that you see right over my shoulder. He's one of the guys that I followed the most when I first got into MMA, and I just want to see the dude. I mean, I just want to see him do better. And I don't want to see him going down that bad path that we've seen other fighters go down, where they struggle with mental health and then the worst happens. They take their own life, or they do something that causes them to lose their life because of what's happening in their brain, and they could have just gotten some help, you know. So I'm hoping that that's what happens, is that he gets some help and he works these things out and things get better for him. So good luck to BJ. My heart goes out to his family. If in fact, you know, everything's on the up and up, which I'm pretty sure it probably is. It's just he's having these issues. So, you know, well wishes to them, and I hope BJ finds help, gets help, and starts to get a hold of things for the well-being of himself and his family. So, and if there is nefarious things happening in the background, hopefully that gets uncovered and fixed as well. I guess we'll have to wait and see how this plays out in the future. But for now, just wish him well. That's really all I can say. So moving on, a little bit not as deep, but kind of still, because it's like, Merab, what the fuck are you doing? Merab Dvalishvili is fighting next weekend in a main event for a title. He's defending his title against Sugar Sean O'Malley. And you know, it seems like this is a thing for him. He's constantly getting injured shortly before he's about to fight, and then he posted on social media, which is crazy. Yeah, of course, you know, everybody wants to say that they're, you know, authentic and real and they don't hide anything and all this other shit, but some shit should be hidden. Like, if you get injured, you could get taken off the card because the commission doesn't want to sanction your fight because you're injured. So that's a thing that can happen. Or the UFC feels like you're unfit to fight, which rarely happens, but you know, that's a possibility too. Maybe a doctor doesn't allow you to fight. I don't know. There's a lot of things that can happen. But Merab, like the savage that he is, the machine, says Merab broken toe. He literally said, it's okay, I'm gonna cut it off. He didn't cut it off as far as I know, but you know, that's his mentality. And he also says, don't worry, I have 9 more. And he said that because someone asked him, like, how are you dealing with this issue, considering we had someone like Conor McGregor who dropped out of his fight with Michael Chandler when it was actually scheduled and ready to go because of a broken toe. Similar injury. He says it's basically not as bad as it looks. Apparently he kicked someone in training, and that's when this happened. So But he says, don't worry, I have 9 more. And apparently it's not affecting him at all. But, you know, you go into a fight, they all go into fights injured in some way, form, or fashion, whether it's serious or it's just, you know, superficial or minor. But they all have injuries of some sort going into fights, including Sugar Sean, who apparently had a lot of stuff wrong with him when he fought Merab and lost his belt, including his hip injury in a labrum or something like that, he said, and that he has since gotten surgery on and is looking dialed in. I gotta say that he is looking like a different Sugar Sean, and that's because he stopped smoking weed, which he's an avid, you know, weed smoker. He said he stopped doing everything else, including streaming online video games and stuff. He had a whole setup. Apparently he sold it off. He's off of social media. He was a force on social media, just constantly posting and just being on there all the time. And he's quit all of that, and now he's strictly focused on the fight and getting his belt back, which is what you should be doing, obviously. But you know, it's to the extreme for him, but maybe that's the only way he can focus. And maybe this is how Merab focuses. You know, he fights through adversity. His nickname's the Machine for a reason, and it's not just because his cardio. It's because he's tough. And he may not have knockout power or the best striking in the world, but he has fucking effective grappling and wrestling that gets him far. He's on this crazy win streak. He's the champ now, and everything else. So I highly doubt this is going to affect him at all. But it was just something that and you know, Dana said it before, like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Last time he posted about a cut that he got shortly before the fight, and Dana was pissed, like, what the fuck is wrong with these guys? They're so goddamn stupid to be posting that shit online or whatever. But it is what it is. That's what happens. That's what they do. And that's what happened. So let's hope Merab's okay. And we're looking forward to this main event coming up next weekend for UFC 316, I believe it is, right? Let me double check. Yeah, UFC 316 happening next weekend. So we'll be looking forward to that. And hopefully Merab stays away from getting any more injuries of any sort. So moving on back to this bullshit. And I just fuck, man. I don't even know what to say about this anymore, except for fuck, because here we go again. The goddamn Michael Chandler, Conor McGregor shit. 2 years, and Chandler said he moved on, got a fight, fought that fight against Paddy Pimblett and lost, and now we're getting this again. You know my thoughts on Conor. Yeah, Infinity. He gave up on Conor long before I did. But here's the Chandler shit coming back up, and you know it's a slow week when this is happening, but I feel like that's why maybe Chandler did it. Maybe there's some truth behind it, but he posted Conor with a bunch of exclamation marks and then just a date, 1/24/26. Now he did all this on Threads, and apparently that's the UFC's pushing Threads big time, so that's probably why he did it there. But you know, this cryptic shit, it's just so stupid. You know, it's the same shit with Tom Aspinall and fucking John Jones, and I get that Tom's playing into all the shit, but so is, I mean, John's just doing it because he likes to troll. But this starting up again is like, what the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? I don't, at this point,
I don't give a fuck.
That's kind of how I feel about this matchup anymore. I just don't care. If it happens, it happens, and I won't believe it's gonna happen until the date is set, the event's here, and then I'll be like, okay, let's do this. But until then, look at what happened last time. Look at what happened last time. The fucking injury, or supposed injury. A lot of people are talking about the fact that was an old picture, that you know, Conor wasn't really injured. They're just doing this, that, or the other thing for whatever reasons. Most people are now saying a lot more that Conor's just never going to fight again, in the UFC or anywhere else. Mike Perry just came out saying that. as he was asked about, you know, coming back to bare knuckle and possibly fighting Conor in bare knuckle at some point, because of Conor's, you know, involvement in that and how much he's expressed wanting to fight there. But I don't know that he's ever going to fight again. Something's really got to get him out there. And if he does fight again soon, or ever again, I should say, I would be interested to find out what all this was about. And I'm sure one day we will, but it'd be nice to find out sooner than later, or just stop with this bullshit. Just stop. We don't need any more. So we'll see what comes of this. The only thing that Conor said was call that big butt nurse. Tagging Dana White and the UFC's parent company TKO in a bid to rejoin the organization's testing pool and return to action. So, you know, we've heard this before already too. He claimed at one point in time that he was already in the testing pool, and we saw what happened there. So fuck it, I'm over it. Let's get past it. Let's get past it and back into something else that we're all tired of at this point too. Tom Aspinall, John Jones. Make the fucking fight. Just make the fight and get the shit over with. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of all this bullshit. And Tom Aspinall says, I've been almost a year inactive with no prospect of anything apart from waiting, basically. It's kind of difficult mentally. This is the fight against John Jones. The fight is another thing. So, and all John has to say was shut your mouth and do what you're told, or do as you're told. But John Jones is claiming he's already told the UFC. I went over this last week. John Jones is claiming that he already told the UFC what his plans were, claims that the UFC is known and he doesn't know why they're not telling you. So that's cryptic in its own way. Of course, once again, does that mean he already told him that he's done and the UFC is just not saying it? But why doesn't John just fucking tell us? Maybe that's because his plan is to wait it out for however long he fucking wants to wait it out for. Apparently they've already agreed to give him the money he's asking for, which rumors were 30 mil. If that's the case, goddamn. I should have done this. Because if he gets that money, oof. We don't always know exactly the amount that everybody gets, but there's disclosed and undisclosed amounts that they talk about all the time. But if John Jones gets 30 mil, what the fuck are you waiting for? Get it done and over with. If you want to retire, get it fucking done and over with. Stop sitting here and holding up the division, as well as holding up Tom Aspinall's career. And I know a lot of people claim John's entitled to do what he wants. He's earned it, and let him have his time. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up with that shit. Because John Jones needs to fight. He's a fucking fighter. Fight. I understand having a little bit of a break, but you didn't have to do much of anything in your first fight in the heavyweight division, because you got that shit over with in fucking less. I don't even know what the timing was anymore, but Cyril Gane folded and you choked his ass out, and then you came back and fought the old and way done and way over fighting, you know, fucking Stipe, former champ. No disrespect to Stipe, but when he was done, he said, yes, I'm 100% retired. Thank God, it's about time. So he wasn't in it. He was more than a foot out. He was a foot and a half out the game. So these are your two fights, John Jones. Like, fucking get it done. Get it over with. End all of it. Walk off being the GOAT that you are and be done. Because Tom Aspinall has some fucking work to do, and there's a lot of other guys. Maybe not a lot, but there's a few other guys waiting in the wings, and maybe we can start building this fucking division back up to be the best one in the UFC again, like it was for a long time. Stop playing fucking games and get this shit done. Cause I'm sick of it. I'm sick of this shit too. So fuck you guys. I'm tired of even talking about it. But when shit comes up, you know, and it's a slow week, I'm gonna talk about it still, and I'll just say what I feel, and this is what I feel, because I'm sick of it. It's a fucking annoying. Just get it done. Get it fucking done. Anyway, moving on. Now, we've done it before on the watch parties, at least once before. You know, Clark is a big in trading cards and stuff like that, and you know, he got me a card that we sent out to have graded. It's a Gem Mint 10. It's a dope card. It's an autographed fucking Donald Cowboy Cerrone card, worth a decent amount. Nothing crazy, but a good amount. And so yeah, we like to dabble in the cards here. Clark's balls deep in it, calling it his business right now, which he's doing things with it, so that's good. So here's something that is, along with all of that, and that is that Topps just dropped this saying that they're putting debut patches on fighters that are debuting in the UFC. The UFC athletes will now wear a debut patch on their gear for their first fight. After the bout, the patch will go into a 1/1 signed trading card. So Andreas Bain Gustafsson will be the first athlete in history to wear a UFC debut patch. So this is kind of cool, especially for the aspect of the trading card thing, because when you talk about trading cards, you think baseball, football, basketball stuff, and of course UFC being as big of a sport as it is now has cards as well. And so we're thinking along those lines, rookie cards. So UFC debut cards are basically rookie cards. So if you get a 1/1 signed card by someone from their UFC debut, now it's going to show that it's their UFC debut. Instead of saying rookie card, it's going to say UFC debut, and it's going to have the patch along with the card, which they've been doing this for a while. They'll have pieces of fight gear in the card, or a piece of the canvas from that event. Just like in baseball, they have pieces of the baseball, football, all that shit. So this is pretty cool. And then also, you're watching the guy's very first fight in UFC, whether he has a lot of outside experience or fought in a different organization. If it's his first UFC fight, he's going to have a patch on his shorts saying it's his UFC debut, which will later get cut off and put on into a 1/1 autograph sign or an autograph trading card. So pretty cool. Again, slow week, but I thought that was cool anyway, considering we do stuff with the cards here during the watch parties and shit, and I'm thinking about buying a pack to open up during the watch party next weekend. So I'll get with Clark on that one, and we'll probably do something like that. Dana White's big into the trading card thing now as well. He used to do Fuck It Friday, where you try combinations of food that most people wouldn't think of putting together, and then he would try it and tell you straight up whether he liked it or not. Now he does Rip It Friday, which is ripping open, rare packs of cards and seeing what kind of shit he pulls, and what kind of 1/1s or autos or any of the refractors, all this other kinds of cards that are out there now. And these things are worth money. So he's opening big money packs, and then he gives away the cards as well. So you always have the chance of doing that. Follow him on Instagram, and you'll see how that works. So it's a big thing right now with the UFC. So that's a cool thing to bring up. And then we have the fucking 20-year anniversary of The Ultimate Fighter, which I feel like has been dead for quite a while. But here we go again.
Another one.
Another fucking season of The Ultimate Fighter. Celebrating the 20 years of The Ultimate Fighter being on the air. This time, normally it's coached by two fighters that should be fighting after, so they'll match up a couple fighters that have been trying to fight each other or are gonna fight coming up soon or something like that, and they'll match them up, have them coach against each other, and then they'll lead up to a fight. But this one is being coached by former double champ Daniel Cormier and the bad boy Chael Sonnen. The bad guy, I should say, not bad boy, sorry. But obviously they've been retired for a while and they're not coming back, so they're not gonna fight. They actually do a show together, the DC and the bad guy. So they do a show together and they talk shit all the time, and we know Chael flies off at the mouth, whether it's true or not, who knows. He's a big troll, and he likes to throw rumors out there that aren't true, maybe to throw people off, maybe not, but either way, this started up 2 days ago on Tuesday. I watched the first one. Last season I couldn't really watch it. That they had, it was tough because it was Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko, and both of them English is their second language, so it's a bit tough to and no pun intended there, but it's a bit tough to follow. And some of the things I saw was just like, oof. This show had needed a revamp of some sort, or some kind of life pumped into it a long time ago, or they should have just ended it. And instead, here we go again. And it's fine. Whatever. And it gives people opportunities and exposure. It's just not as good as it used to be, and the exposure's not like it used to be. They used to actually go deep in and talk about people's lives and touch on things that it was just different, and it was cool. And you used to see a lot more training, a lot more of the weight cutting stuff and all that. It's not so much anymore. It kind of gets straight to the point now, directly to the fights, which is fine. But we already have something like that happens, which is Dana White's Contender Series seems to be pushing out way bigger stars that are doing things. I mean, the Ultimate Fighter has produced 16 world champions, but that's over the span of 20 years. You know, Dana White's Contender Series has pumped out a few champs themselves. You know, Jamal Hill. Off the top of my head, that's the first one I thought of. I can't remember who else. Oh, Sugar Sean. What am I talking about? Sugar Sean was on Dana White's Contender Series. And he was a champ. You know, they in a lot less time, they pushed out probably more champs than the Ultimate Fighter did initially. I could be wrong about that, but I mean, it's pretty close. But either way, we have something going right now. So why are we continuing to do the Ultimate Fighter? I don't know. But here it is. And it previewed, or it aired on Tuesday. And it was okay. The fight was pretty good. It was a first round finish, submission, and Team Sonnen won that one. There was a lot of shit talking going on. Here's the thing. Here's my biggest problem with this season. It feels very, I don't want to say fake, okay? But I don't want to say maybe scripted, maybe just, you know, it's a reality show, but it's reality show, you know? So DC and Chael are both big wrestling fans. So they're all about the kayfabe, if you know what that is. Joshua Driver says UFC Chicago. Yeah, are you looking forward to Maiev Dricus breakdown? I will definitely get to that when it gets closer to the event. But best path for both guys to win. Well, we know what Chimaev's all about. I'll touch on that real quick because Ultimate Fighter is a little bit tired anyway. But yeah, I'll touch on that real fast. We know what Chimaev's about. The wrestling and the grappling, that Dagestani wrestling. You know, even though, you know, he's Chechnyan, I get it, but you know what I mean? He's got that style. So we know what he's about. He's a marauder. He goes after it. But we've seen him have trouble a couple times. Dricus has been obviously impressive recently. He's got the striking. He's got a little bit of everything. And I feel like Dricus is going to do what he's been doing. And it's been working for him. And I think he just has to try to end it somewhat early. No, I'm sorry. Chimaev has to end it somewhat early, because I think if you drag him into deeper waters, which Dricus can do, I don't think Chimaev fares very well. He seems to get frustrated and things start to break down a little bit, but he's still there. And he's still dangerous, but I just feel like early on is when he's the most dangerous. So Dricus has been able to, you know, pull things deeper than he used to back in the day before his nose got fixed. So I think he has all the skills, and I think he's on a roll right now, and I don't think it's his time to be done yet. I doubted Dricus in the beginning. Yeah, because Hamzat is all out early. Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's a rusher. He rushes you. He tries to smother you, and then he tries to get it done. And if it doesn't work, he hits a wall. So Dricus is a lot better now. His cardio is better, so he can do a lot more. And I feel like he's on that. I doubted him a bunch in the beginning, thinking he wouldn't hold the belt for very long. And it hasn't been a long time, but it's been longer than I even thought. I didn't know that he would even defend once. I feel like he gets more and more impressive as he goes. And I just don't know if Chimaev is there, especially with the infrequency of fights that he has. You know, he's not as active because of the traveling, the visa issues, the all of that, having to wait for overseas events, and it just doesn't seem like that's, you know, been able to be changed until now, I guess. So hopefully if he wins the belt, hopefully things have been straightened out. So if he wins the belt, we don't have to worry about any of that anymore. Brunson and Till had good ground control versus Dricus, so that makes me think Chimaev can get it done. Yeah, but that was early on. I don't think we've really seen anybody control him like that since he's been the Dricus 2.0, where he's been able to breathe through his nose. And I know it sounded like an excuse at first, but I think he's shown and proved that that was a thing. So, I mean, that's a great point, Joshua, but I feel like that was the old Dricus, and the new one doesn't have those problems anymore. So I feel like he's better all the way around. What he was lacking before was fixed with his nose, and now I feel like he's got what it takes. And this is definitely a highly anticipated fight, and I feel like I'm excited for it, and I feel like it's going to be a great one. No matter who wins, because if Chimaev wins, that is so fucking impressive, and we're just going to see Chimaev skyrocket. Wouldn't be shocked if it's the fight of the year. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But you know, I feel like if it goes to deep waters, it's going to be kind of like Chimaev versus Gilbert Burns, where we were just impressed by both of them, and we were like, holy shit, I can't believe this fight has gone this way and gone this far, with Gilbert being fucking so tough, and Chimaev just not being able to finish but still hanging in there and taking shots of his own. Would they do a rematch if it's a war? They definitely would. I don't think they're gonna let Dricus not have a immediate rematch, especially if it goes all 5 rounds and it's like a split decision, or it's a tough one to judge. They would definitely do a rematch, and I think it would be a big one, because there's a lot of great matchups in that division right now, but people have been waiting for something like this. And Dricus versus Chimaev is definitely what a matchup people have been waiting for. So yeah, I'm fucking hyped for it too. It's a little ways down the road, so I hadn't really put that much thought into it, but you just had me do that, and I like it. That was good. Especially because I just put those thoughts together, and it makes a lot of sense. Not that I'm hyping myself up on that. I'm just saying in my brain that makes sense to me, and I feel like that gets me even more hyped for that fight. I'm driving from the Northeast to Chicago too scared to fly. Damn, but you're doing it. That's dedication. But I mean, if you're going to watch that fight, I understand, and I fully agree with you doing that. I hate flying too. I've flown from Arizona to Chicago before, so long as I've ever flown, and I was freaked out. I usually just fly to Vegas and back. That's a quick one, but 4 hours on a plane. Never thought I'd do it, and I did it way back in the day. Haven't done it recently. So yeah, I understand. Scared to fly. That shit, it gets scary, especially these days with all the plane issues that happened in the past year. I was in Chicago probably, I would say probably about 12 years ago, probably. It was nice then. I went and saw the Bean. I went to the lakes. All that was nice. It was kind of shit weather at the moment, overcast and stuff, but it was still nice out there. It was a long time ago though, so I don't remember a whole lot. But my wife's relatives lived on like the outskirts of Chicago and stuff. So we were in a backyard in a hot tub, like staring out into the woods, which was crazy, kind of dope. Yeah, I think everything's pretty nice out there. So I know there's a lot of bad things about Chicago that people talk about in the city and stuff, but there's still the good stuff out there too. So just be careful and enjoy the fight for sure. I'm jealous. It's gonna be dope. Anyway, thanks for the interaction. I appreciate that. Got me thinking, and I like that. Damn, that's sweet. I'm gonna try to find out the fighter hotel so I can link up there. Oh yeah, that's cool. Go get yourself some good pictures and some good interactions. It's always fun. So yeah, back to the Ultimate Fighter though. DC versus Chael. Yeah, I don't have much more to say about it. We'll see how the season goes. Oh, fabricated. That's what I was saying. Feels like it's a bit fabricated because DC is talking a lot of shit, and DC talks shit. Yeah, the first episode, it was okay. This is what I'm saying though. It felt a little fabricated. DC talking shit is not surprising, but what what it is it feels very fake, feels very, very forced. And he had his team like saying a bunch of shit to the opponent for the first fight, and they talked a lot of shit, and then they got karma right back to him and lost the fight. So, and is the number 1 pick versus the number 1 pick. I hate to spoil it. Sorry, Joshua. You said you missed it. I'm spoiling it here, but yeah, number 1 picks for both teams matched up. You'd think Chael would be more, but DC was. Exactly. That's why I say it feels fabricated. Everybody thinks the bad guy is going to be the one talking all the shit and trolling, but really DC is doing his cringy fucking shit talking and being overzealous and kind of stupid. And Chael's kind of hanging back. So I wouldn't say being respectful, but being very tame. And that's not what we're used to. So that's why it feels a little weird. So we'll see how the rest of the season matches up, because we all know Chael can talk shit with the best of them, regardless of whether it's a bit cringe or not. But he's the original shit talker. So we'll see how the rest of the season goes. I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm excited for it. I'm gonna catch an episode here and there when I get to it. I always look out for the highlights and the social media posts of what might have happened, because that's usually the best part of the whole damn show anyway. But I'm always looking for the outcome of the fights too. So I'll go over it when it matters or when it's slow. Anyway, let's hit up a little bit of boxing before we do this preview for Blanchfield versus Barber. We got a couple big fights on this card. Caleb Plant versus Armondo Resendiz. I believe that's how you say his name. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know boxing all that much, but I'm trying to get better at learning it. But what I do know is Caleb Plant, and I know Jamal Charlo as well. He's fighting Thomas Lamana. So these guys, you look at this poster and you're thinking they're fighting each other because they're the two faces on the poster, but they're not. They both have their own fights. Charlo's the co-main, Plant is the main event, but they should be fighting each other because they have beef, and I'm sure they're gonna match these two up at some point. But you know, boxing is weird like that. UFC is becoming that way too now. But yeah, they are not matched up right now, but I'm sure they will be in the near future. Especially with them fighting on the same card here. It's kind of weird. It's kind of like the thing with Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney, where they should have rematched, and instead they're fighting on the same card against different opponents. So weird. I don't get it. It is what it is. If you don't know, the beef between Caleb Plant and Jamal Charlo was back a couple years ago. They were promoting a fight. They were in the backstage of a fight. Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence at T-Mobile, and basically Charlo was chirping at Plant. They were both talking shit back and forth. Charlo, I guess, pulled on Plant's beard, and Plant was like, "Hey, listen, you don't want to do that. Let's cut that shit out." And he did it again, and he pulled it kind of hard. So Plant just planted a big fucking slap across his face, gave him the Stockton slap, and it was a good one. If you haven't seen that, you can find it. Just Google Plant slaps Charlo, and you'll find it easily. But it was entertaining to watch. But yeah, so we thought we were gonna get that fight pretty quickly, and it hasn't happened. So now they're fighting on the same card, and we'll see if that gets matched up here in the near future. But Infinity caught that one, Stockton slap. But yeah, I mean, Caleb Plant is coming off a win over Trevor McCumbee back in September of last year on that Canelo card. He's only had 2 losses ever, and those are to Canelo and David Benavidez, 2 big names. So Caleb has a lot of wins under his belt. He's one of those guys. That's why he's the main event. But I mean, looking at again, I don't follow boxing that closely. Looking at his opponent, Armondo Resendiz, Mexican fighter, I don't follow much, so I'm not too aware of him. He has 2 losses as well. He's 15-2. He won his last fight in February of this year against Fernando Paliza. That was a TKO in the 5th round. So Both these guys are coming off wins in the main event. And then you got, I give Plant this one. Yeah, for sure. I feel like it's a pretty lopsided fight if you look at the matchups and the stats. But yeah, it looks pretty lopsided. But then we got Jermall Charlo, who's undefeated, 33-0 versus Thomas LaManna, 39-5. LaManna's on a huge win streak though. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's on a 9-fight win streak. His last fight he won. His last 4 fights he's won by TKO. And all of them were in 3 rounds or less, except for one, which is in the 7th round. So it looks like he finishes early. If you look further back in his record, yeah, a lot of early finishes. But Charlo is the man there, 33-0, obviously on a huge win streak as well. A lot of decisions under him, but he hasn't had a finish since 2019. The rest of his 3 other fights since then have all been decisions, but his last win was against Jose Benavidez Jr. So yeah, that should be a good one too. There's a few other fights on the card, but nobody that I know. 3 other fights on 3, 4, 5, 6. What are we talking about? 3. There's a bunch of other fights on that card. The main card is what I was looking at. So yeah, that's happening on Saturday on Amazon Prime. So you don't have to pay for it if you have Amazon Prime. Obviously, you're paying for Amazon Prime. So you already paid for it if you have it. So check that out on Saturday if you want to watch some boxing. It looks like it's going to be happening around the same time the UFC card will be on as well. So you might have to go back and forth, double screen it if you want to watch both. I'll probably just be watching the UFC fight and watching for the highlights on this one. Watch party? No. That's next weekend. No watch party for me this weekend. At least I don't think so. I don't know that I have anything going on this weekend, but that's a first for quite a few weekends now. So I might just relax and enjoy not having anything specific to do. But we'll see. If something pops up, I'll let you know. Otherwise, that's it for Combat Sports News. Let's move into this preview and end out with the event coming up this weekend, which is UFC Vegas 107, happening Saturday night as well. MMA Fool. Hey, what's up, Fool? He's going for Caleb Plant. I understand that. I'm assuming that's what's going to be what happens. Plant and Charlo getting the wins there. Just looking at the records of everybody and how things have gone. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna be watching for the highlights. If I'm not doing anything else, I'll double screen that shit. I got like 3 screens in front of me right now. I can watch all of them. So I am a little bit interested in those boxing matches, so I might check those out. But yeah, on Saturday as well, we have Blanchfield versus Barber happening in the Apex in Vegas. Obviously, you know, when the women are at the top of the card, unless there's crazy stuff happening with them, a lot of people are not so interested. But I feel like this should be a good one, especially, I mean, Maycee Barber's been out for, I think, just over a year. She suffered some kind of weird sickness, and yeah, so it was March 9th of last year when she fought Caitlin I can't ever say her name. Chukagian was hard enough, and now I can't say her new last name ever since she got married. But so yeah, she I guess the doctors never fully understood what the hell happened to her. She had some kind of infection, illness of some sort, and she was down and out for a while. She thought for a minute she might not be able to fight ever again. This is Maycee Barber I'm talking about. But yeah, she's back and fighting the number 3 ranked fighter in her weight class, although she's number 4 in the weight class. So I mean, it's actually a good matchup because of the fact that it's number 3 versus number 4. We don't get that a lot. Usually it's like number 3 versus 7 or something like that. So I feel like it's going to be a good one. If you look at the skills of both these women, it's a fairly decent matchup. Maycee Barber is very confident she's going to win this fight. She feels like Blanchfield is one-dimensional and boring, and basically can't strike. And Maycee feels like she's a well-rounded fighter and has skills all the way around. but she does lack a little bit in the takedown defense, but I feel like she makes the best of it. Even if she gets taken down a lot, she does a lot to fend off any kind of danger that she has on the ground. But Blanchfield is really good on the ground. She has great submissions, so that's something we got to look out for in that one, and I'll dive a little deeper into it in a minute. And here you go. If you look at this poster, as you see down there, at Threads, they're pushing Threads a lot. The UFC is. Not sure why. I guess Meta, having a partnership with Meta and fucking Zuckerberg, he's looking to make Threads become big like Facebook did and everything else, Instagram and shit. I don't know, but Threads has been everywhere lately. So I'm on Threads, but that's just because anything I post on Instagram goes to Threads as well. So I don't put much effort into it. I just do it that way. But anyway, let's get to the prelims and check out what's going on down there. Some pretty good fights. I mean, oh no, did I do it again? No, I didn't. Okay, cool. I thought I messed it up. I was like, shit. I was like, but I see Ellis Ardeline, and I knew that was right. So she's fighting Rayanne Dos Santos to start off the prelims. Ardeline is fucking crazy popular on TikTok. I see her all over the place on Instagram too. She has an OnlyFans if you're interested, but and she's not shy. And if you look at her Instagram, you'll get that. But yeah, I don't know. She's very popular on TikTok too, which is kind of crazy, especially with the somewhat weird content she puts out there. It's almost like you'd expect from a teenage boy. That's the only way I can describe it. You got to go check it out for yourself to know what I'm talking about. It's hard to explain even, but it's interesting and it's kind of funny, and I guess that's why it catches on. But she's pretty popular on TikTok, so go check it out there or on Instagram. She's fighting Rayanne Dos Santos, who is 14-8. Ardeline is 9-7. Dos Santos is 0-2 in the UFC. So she's looking to try not to get cut, because you know what happens when you go 3-0 in the UFC. And Ardeline is, I believe, 0-2 in the UFC as well. So both these girls are kind of fighting for their lives in the UFC. They might let Ardeline stick around because of her popularity on social media, but who knows? And yeah, this is a tough one to start. So we'll see how that goes. Sometimes you get the best fights out of that, but that one's questionable. Moving on, we got Gyat. MMA phone knows what I'm talking about. Oh shit. Next up, we got Balaji Oki versus Michael Aswell. Oki is fun to watch fight for sure. He's 1-1 in the UFC. He is coming off a loss to Chris Duncan, but the little bit we've seen of him, I feel like he's got potential. So that, this could be a fun one against Michael Aswell, who is coming out the Contender Series. He lost there, and then he had one other fight in another organization, and now he's in the UFC making his debut. So he's fighting Oki. That's a tough one to get started, but that's that fight in the men's lightweight division. Next up, we have Andreas Gustafsson versus Trevin Giles. I think Gustafsson had a different opponent. Yeah, he was supposed to fight Jeremiah Wells, but Wells withdrew for some reason or another. So Trevin Giles jumps in. We've seen him before for sure. Gustafsson is Contender Series. So he's making his debut. Yeah, that's right, because we talked about the debut patch earlier with him being supposedly the first one, but I wonder if Aswell's making his debut too. Will be wearing that patch as well for the card. But either way, Gustafsson versus Giles should be a good one. That's happening in the men's welterweight division. Trevin Giles is on a 3-fight losing streak, so that's fucking tough. So this is do or die for him here, which makes me think that he might be fighting a little harder than we think. So we'll see what happens there. Next up is Kurt Holobaugh versus Jordan Levitt, with Holobaugh being Ultimate Fighter alum. He was on a couple seasons ago on the like comeback season or something. But yeah, we were just talking about the Ultimate Fighter. That's what made me think of that. And then Jordan Levitt, he's the guy who fucking twerks on people and shit. Paddy Pimblett beat him and twerked on him instead. But Levitt's on a 2-fight losing streak. He got finished by Chase Hooper and then lost to a decision by oh no, I'm sorry. He's coming off a loss. The other one is a grappling event. Sorry about that. I forgot that Tapology puts in those grappling ones. So yeah, he's coming off a loss to Chase Hooper. So we'll see what he has for us. He's 4-3 in the UFC against Kurt Holobaugh, who is 2-6 in the UFC. Wow. He's coming off a loss to Alex Hernandez as well. So there we go. Fighting to get back in the win column. And then the last prelim fight, we have Jafel Filio versus Alan Nascimento. That's in the men's flyweight division. Filio's 16-3. But he's 2-1 in the UFC, and he's coming off a win. A couple wins, actually, 2 in a row. Both wins by submission over Daniel Perez and Ode Osborne. Not bad there. Nascimento is 2-1 in the UFC as well. Also coming off of 2 wins. Jake Hadley and Carlos Hernandez. So that should be a good fight to finish off the prelims. And that brings us into the main card, starting with Zach Reese versus Dusko Todorovic. This one, Zach Reese is one of those sneaky guys that you're not sure what to expect out of him, but then you get some good fights. He is coming off a loss to Azamat Bakoyev by ground and pound in the first round there, but he's 8-2 overall, 2-2 in the UFC. If you look at the submission and decision column, he's undefeated there. But I mean, it's only 2 wins and subs and 1 by decision. So I mean, he's not been TKO'd twice for his 2 losses, 1 being his last fight. So you know, not too bad there. Dusko is on a 2-fight losing streak. He's 3-5 in the UFC. His submissions are 3-0 there. Never been submitted as well. So I mean, if they get to the ground, it could be interesting, considering neither one of these guys have been submitted. But you know, 1-1 by decision and 8-4 by KO TKO. I think Dusko's more of a striker. So maybe we'll see something happening on the feet here. He lost his last 2. 1 by knee injury, so TKO there. The other one by TKO by punches both in the first round. So this one could get over with quickly. His last win was by TKO as well, and that was in the second round. He gets a lot of it done early, whether he's winning or losing. He's not been past the second round in any of. Oh yeah, he's had a couple decisions. I'm sorry. But in his finishes, they've all been done by the second round at least. So you know, it gets done early there. Zach Reese, I think, is coming out hungry, ready to get a big win. So we might get that started off in a big way there. There's a couple of highlights for both those guys, and we'll move on to the next fight in the women's division. Ketlin Vieira versus Macy Chiasson. I mean, this one has potential too, but we know what we get with some of these women's fights, and a lot of them go to decision. We've seen both of these girls take fights to decision. Ketlin Vieira is 14-4 overall, 8-4 in the UFC. She's never been submitted, has 4 wins there, 8-3 by decision, 2-1 by KO TKO, coming off a loss. And we got Macy Chiasson, 10-3 overall, 8-3 in the UFC. She's lost in every category, but only 1 loss in all of them. And then she's on a 2-fight win streak. So let's look at Ketlin Vieira is coming off that loss to Kayla Harrison. That's right. So Kayla, I mean, it wasn't a super dominant win by Kayla Harrison, but she definitely won that fight. I mean, there was no doubt about it. But Ketlin has beat Penny Kanzat, Holly Holm, Misha Tate. She lost to Raquel Pennington. So, I mean, she's fought a lot of the big names in that division. And, you know, combination of wins and losses there. So she's just looking to put together some wins. I mean, it looks like the win against Tate and Holm was the last time she was on a win streak. So she's just looking to get some wins in there. And then Macy Chazon. I feel like she has potential to win this one. Vieira's bigger, but I don't know that she uses that size very well. She seems a little sluggish at times, and Chazon is a little more, you know, a little faster, I would say. So she's coming off a win over Penny Kanzat and Mayra Buena Silva, as you see there. That was that nasty cut that Buena Silva got above her eye. Disgusting cut, crazy, and the doctor had to stop that one in the second round. And then she choked out Penny Kanzat by rear naked choke there. So her last fight, her last loss was to Irene Aldana, and that was that up kick to the liver. Oh, I remember that one. That was crazy. So these two were scheduled to fight before back in January of last year, and it was canceled for whatever reason. So now they finally get their matchup and see it through. So we'll see what happens with that fight. Next up, we have Dustin Jacoby versus Bruno Lopez. And this is happening in the men's light heavyweight division. We got Dustin Jacoby, 20-9 overall, 8-6 in UFC. Look at that, 13 wins by KO TKO and only 2 losses. A lot of wins there in the KO TKO, so we know what we're looking at with Dustin Jacoby. 1-2 by sub, 6-5 by decision. So a little mix there. He is coming off a win. Bruno Lopez is 14-1 overall, 1-0 in the UFC. 6-1 by KO TKO. He's never been submitted and never lost a fight by decision. So that's tough for Jacoby, because if it goes the distance, you know, he's kind of just over 500 on that one, and he's got a losing record by submission when Lopez is undefeated in both those. So we'll see how that goes for him. Lopez obviously coming off that win because he's 1-0 in the UFC. And let's look at Jacoby's last fight was a win over Vitor Petrino. That was in December of last year. TKO win for him there in the third round. Before that, he was on a 2-fight losing streak with losses to Dominic Reyes and Alonzo Menafield. Those are tough opponents, though. He has a win over Kennedy and Zechiku. He's also fought Khalil Roundtree and lost there, but he's beaten Mikhailo Zaechuk and Dawoon Zhang. So, I mean, a good mix of opponents as far as levels, and he's got some wins against some good ones. So he's coming off the win there, looking to make it 2 in a row with Bruno Lopez. His single fight in the UFC was against Magomed Gadziasulov. That's a tough one. That was a unanimous decision win there for Lopez. Before that, he had a win in the Contender Series to get to the UFC, and that was a TKO win in the second round. And then before that, he was in LFA and got a triangle choke in the second round there as well. So technically in his career, he's on a 3-fight win streak. His last loss was in 2023 to Brenton Hibero in the Contender Series. So he's fought a couple times in the Contender Series. He's 1-1 there. 3-0 in LFA and now 1-0 in the UFC. So this could be an interesting one. Dustin Jacoby, we'll get into some brawls, so we'll see how this one pans out. If it gets to the ground, it might be a bad night for Jacoby, though. But we'll see. Next up, we have oh shit, I think I pushed the wrong button. I sure the fuck did. That's all right, I'll leave that there. Billy Ray Goff versus Ramiz Brahimaj. Goff is 9-3 overall, 1-1 in the UFC. He's never been submitted, but he's never submitted anybody either. He's 2-2 by decision and 7-1 by KO TKO. He is coming off a loss. And then you got Brahimaj, who is 3-3 in the UFC, 1-1 by KO TKO, 10-0 by sub. That is a significant amount there. Never been submitted, but has 10 wins there. That's a big difference between him and Goff. As you can see, Goff has 7 wins by KO TKO, and Brahimaj only has 1. So we're looking at a Strikler versus grappler type fight here. Brahimaj does not do well when it goes to decision either. 0-4 there, but he is coming off a win. Let's take a look at Goff with those 7 KO TKOs. His last fight was a loss by decision to Trey Waters, but before that he was on a pretty big win streak. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wins in a row, with only one of those being in the UFC and one being in the Contender Series. But a lot of those were TKO finishes, all except for one were TKOs, and that one was a unanimous decision win. He fought for Bellator before, but you know, he is 1-1 in the UFC, and his one win there is by TKO as well. So yeah, he likes to be on the feet, and that's probably where he's going to try to keep it against somebody like Brahimaj, who has those 10 wins by submission. So Brahimaj is coming off of a win as well over Mickey Gall. That was a TKO win for him on that one. That was a performance of the night bonus there. All right, Infinity, thanks for joining in. Appreciate you. But he's 3-3 in the UFC. Before that, he lost to Themba Garimbo. And then he had a win over Michael Gilmore as well. Lost to Court McGee. So, you know, again, if you're looking at what he does the most, it is definitely those submissions, and he's got a lot of them. So Goff has to be careful on the ground, but Goff seems to be pretty damn good on the feet. So if he can get it done up there and stay off the ground, that might fare well for him. Either way, that's a welterweight fight there. Moving on to the co-main event. A good one here. We got Mateusz Gamrot versus Ludovic Klein. This one's a little bit tough for me. I don't know. If I was betting, I wouldn't know which way to go here. And that's because both these guys have their strengths. You know, Gamrot's a little bit older, but they have the same amount of experience. I mean, look, it's 24-3 to 23-4 in their MMA records, and then their UFC records are similar too. Gamrot has one more fight and one more, you know, and that one more fight was a loss. So 7-3 for Gamrot, 7-2 for Klein. I mean, 8-0 KO TKOs for Gamrot. Never been finished there. Never been submitted either. So he's never been finished overall. 8-0 KO TKO, 5-0 by sub, 11-3 by decision. He is coming off a loss, but Klein has a loss in every category. But I mean, he's 9-1 by KO TKO, 8-2 by sub, and 6-1 by decision. He is on a 6-fight win streak, so he's on a tear right now, and that's what can be scary for Gamrot, considering he's coming off this loss, and he's coming off the loss to Dan Hooker, which was a split decision loss. It was a war. It was a fun fight. You know, Hooker's a beast, and he's always going to get bloodied up. So that's what you're seeing here in this picture. But Gamrot did his thing, but he was not able to get the win, even though in these pictures it looks like he did get the win. It was a fight of the night, so that's how you know it was a damn good one there. Split decision. That was at UFC 305. Before that, he was on a 3-fight win streak with wins over Jalen Turner, Rafael Fiziev, and Rafael Dos Anjos. So I mean, those are 3 big names that he got. TKO win over Fiziev and 2 decision wins over Turner and Dos Anjos. He lost to Beneil Dariush before that and was on another win streak before that one. So you know, he gets those losses in between, but then he goes on win streaks. So if that's the pattern he's gonna follow, then he should be winning this one. But he's coming up against a guy who's on a big win streak of his own. So here's that a big shot against Rafael Dos Anjos, where he beat who he beat by unanimous decision, like I said. But Ludovic Klein is on a 6-fight win streak, and those wins are over Roosevelt Roberts, Thiago Moises, AJ Cunningham, Ignacio Bahamondes. He went to a majority draw with Jai Herbert, and then beat Mason Jones and Devontae Smith. So you know, 6-fight win streak with a draw mixed in there. Since 2022, since 2021, he hasn't lost. His last losses were to Nate Landwehr and Michael Trezano. So I mean, he's on a streak. A lot of those wins are by decision though. So he's only got one TKO win in the mix of all of those. The rest are decisions, and they're all unanimous except for one split. So I mean, he likes to take it to deep waters. As you can see, he's got some good striking there. And yeah, he can definitely strike. That's I lost what I was gonna say for a second. But anyway, he likes to take it to deep waters. He gets the wins by decision. And then you have Gamrot, who's never been finished and has some losses in that decision column. So this is a toss-up here. That's what makes it difficult, because you know, it doesn't matter what Klein has done in the past. He's got 8 wins by submission, 9 wins by KO TKO. But I mean, Gamrot's never been finished. So is Klein going to be the first one to do it? I feel like he has potential to be able to, but I just don't know if he's going to be able to actually get it done against Gamrot, who's looking to, you know, put together another big win streak like he usually does after a loss. That's what makes this fight interesting. It's a good one to be the co-main event leading up into the main, which is between the women, and that is Erin Blanchfield versus Maycee Barber. And like I said before, Maycee Barber was out for just over a year due to that illness, and they still to this day don't know exactly what it was. That's what she was saying on all of her interviews recently. You know, she feels like Blanchfield is one-dimensional, and she just basically likes to, you know, fight on the ground. She says her striking is weak and desperate even. So big talk from Maycee Barber, the future, but she backs it up. We've seen it before. She's on a 6-fight win streak as well, and she's never been finished either. She's 6-0 by KO TKO, 2-0 by sub. But Blanchfield has never been finished either. So, I mean, both these women have 2 losses in the decision column. 7 wins for Blanchfield there and 6 for Maycee Barber. Overall, Barber is 9-2 in the UFC. Blanchfield 7-1. Similar age, similar records, similar in all of the categories, really. Blanchfield has a couple more subs than Barber, but Barber has a few more KO TKO wins. So I mean, that's what we're looking at here: ground game versus striker again. And I mean, that's what makes it a bit interesting. The only problem is they usually go to decision with these fights, and as you can tell, neither one of them have been finished because it usually goes to decision. Not that I'm downing this fight for any for that reason alone, but you know, it's kind of a thing in the women's divisions. So either way, both these girls have skills. I mean, as much as Barber's talking about Blanchfield's striking not being great, she's shown some decent striking in the past. Let's see, her last fight was that win over Rosnam Yunus. Before that, she lost to Manon Fiorot, which that was I don't want to say like a horrible loss, but it was not a great loss for Blanchfield. It was her first loss in the UFC, but she just didn't look great there, especially with how Manon looked against Shevchenko. That loss didn't fare well, and it just seems like if Maycee comes out doing what she says she's gonna do, it might be a tough night for Blanchfield. But we've seen what Blanchfield can do, and the suffocating like positions that she puts people in, and the high, you know, the high pace and all that. So she choked out Jessica Andrade. She got a unanimous decision win over Tyler Santos. She got a Kimura win over Molly McCann. A standing guillotine versus JJ Aldridge. She beat Miranda Maverick by unanimous decision. So I mean, she's got some big names in there too, in that division that she's beaten. Only has the one loss to Manon Fiorot. So I mean, you know, this is what you get. She had a pretty impressive win against Jessica Andrade, especially since she's a former champion. So that was one of her highlight fights and wins. And that brings us to Maycee Barber, who is great on her feet as well. She's got a lot of dynamic striking. You know, she kicks a lot, some spinning attacks. She is on that 6-fight win streak with wins over Caitlin Sermarni. Again, I can't say her fucking name. Amanda Hebos, Andrea Lee, Jessica I, Montana De La Rosa, and Miranda Maverick. I mean, those are a lot of big names that she's beaten there. Her only 2 losses are to Alexa Grasso and Roxanne Modafferi. So Grasso being a former champ, Modafferi tough on the ground. And I mean, that was a tough fight for her there. But, you know, Maycee has a lot of confidence, and she's definitely confident in this fight. Her last, she got a finish against Hebos, TKO finish in the 2nd round a couple fights ago. But most of her fights have been by decision since the in this win streak. All but one have been by decision. So you can expect this one to go at least over the halfway mark, if not all the way to all 5 rounds, and we'll get to a decision. But hopefully it's a fun fight in the mix and it's exciting. So we'll see how it goes. With that being said, let's get to the fight wheel and wrap this up. Let's see what the fight wheel has for predictions. Because if you don't know what the fight wheel's about, it's because I suck at making bets and making predictions on fights. So now I leave it up to the wheel, which hasn't been doing well lately. I believe in the last one it was 1-4, which is not great. Not great at all. So before that though, I think it was 4-1 or 5-1. So I mean, it goes back and forth. It's all up by chance. You know, I put them in this wheel. We spin it, we see what it gives us, and we go from there. So let's get going with that and see who our first winner is going to be of UFC Vegas 107. The fight wheel is going with the main event first, huh? Maybe? No. So it just went over to Zachary Reese, getting the win over Dusko Todorovic for our first prediction for UFC 107. So we'll remove that, get rid of that name, and we'll spin again to see what we got next. And that's actually not a bad prediction. I can see Reese getting the win, but it's going to be a tough one, I think. So let's go to Ludovic Klein. Ludovic Klein getting the win over, will he be the first one to finish Mateusz Gamrot? We'll have to see, but that's a interesting prediction there. Not far-fetched though. A lot of other people are favoriting Klein for the win in that one, so it's not far off, but it's a tough one to decide, and I'm glad I didn't have to decide. The wheel did it for me. Ludovic Klein getting that win there. Let's see what's next. Next up to get the win at UFC 107, Vegas 107 I should say, Billy Ray Goff getting the win over Ramiz Brahimaj. Not a bad prediction there either, I don't think. We'll take that off there. We'll delete that one and we'll spin again. A few more fights left. See what else the fight wheel has for predictions. Taking it to the main event, and as close as we were to getting Maycee Barber in the first spin, we wind up with Aaron Blanchfield with the fight wheel predicting to get the win in the main event over Maycee Barber. And Blanchfield's coming off that loss, so according to the fight wheel, she's gonna break the 6-fight win streak of Maycee Barber and hand her first loss in 7 fights. So we'll see how that goes for us. 2 fights left. Here we go. Dustin Jacoby to get the win over Bruno Lopez. And of course, I got to write it down on my trusty little whiteboard, so I know what the hell happened. I can always go back and watch the video, I guess, but it's easier this way. It's a quick way to remember what happened. So let's see the last fight prediction from the fight wheel. And with the women's fight, it looks like Ketlin Vieira getting the win over Macy Chiasson. That's one I'm not exactly sure will go that way, but I guess we'll see how accurate the fight wheel is this week. And that about does it. So we got Zach Reese beating Brahimaj. Hold on, where did I? There we go. Zach Reese beating Todorovic, I mean, and then Ludovic Klein getting the win over Mateusz Gamrot. Billy Ray. What the fuck? It is Billy Ray. I don't know why I thought that was wrong. Billy Ray Goff getting the win over Brahimaj. Aaron Blanchfield beating Macy Barber in the main event. Dustin Jacoby beating Bruno Lopez, and Ketlin Vieira beating Macy Chiasson. Those are your fight wheel predictions, and that does it for me. Let's get out of here and wrap this shit up. Thanks again to everybody who joined in, everybody who was watching. Appreciate you guys. Joshua Driver, thanks for making me think there and interacting. I appreciate that always. Thanks to MMA Foo was in the chat. Appreciate you. Combat Sports Today, always fun to have those guys around. And then of course DJ Infinity, always jumping in and staying loyal. Appreciate that as well. So don't forget, we got boxing on Saturday, as well as the UFC Vegas 107 happening Saturday night. Double screen that shit, or pick one to watch and focus on. But either way, a couple combat sports events happening this weekend. Some smaller stuff happening around. I think one championship almost every week has something going on, so there's that as well. But that's about it. So come back. And Sunday, I plan on doing it Sunday this week for the second show as a recap of UFC Vegas 107, and then next Thursday for the preview of UFC 316, the pay-per-view. We'll talk about the watch party and anything else going around in combat sports and MMA and the UFC and everything else. So thanks again for joining in. Thanks to my sponsor, Noctane Smelling Salts. Come back on Sunday. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when I'm going live or releasing any content of any sort on YouTube. Appreciate you. I'm out of here. Take it easy. Peace.